Ooh, look at this. I got some new press-on nails here. I love a good press-on nails. These are French tip. I'm excited to put these on. But we're here to talk about a banned book. There's been a lot of talk about banned books on BookTube, and I am participating in the 24 and 24 of reading 24 banned books. Okay, I think I'm about 4 in, if I'm not mistaken. So recently I read To Kill a Mockingbird, and I actually read this when I was in, was it middle school or high school? I can't remember, but I definitely read this before, and it was interesting to now read it as an adult. I wish that I had some of the papers I had to write about this bad boy when I was in school. Now, this is by Harper Lee. It's won tons of awards and has been challenged for quite a number of years. I think the reason it was challenged was for quite a good use of the N-word and people's supposed inaccurate portrayal of black people at the time. This book is set in like 1930, early 1930s. But anyway, so this book I found not only at the library, I found this one, which is a graphic novel of this book, which is pretty fun. So I kind of took a look at both of these. They complement each other very, very well. So anyway, To Kill a Mockingbird is about, you have the Finch family. So you have Scout, which is the youngest member. She's 9. Her brother Jim is 13. And their dad is Atticus Finch. He's a public defender in this little small town in Alabama. And, you know, it's the summer. Jim and Scout, as well as their little friend, you know, they're being kids running around town. And you learn a lot about small town life through the eyes of this innocent child. You know, she is very much the signs of the time, repeating things that people say, including, you know, certain racist things that other people say, including, you know, the N-word. And her dad during this time is actually defending this black man. His name is Tom Robinson, because he has been accused of sexually assaulting and physically assaulting this, you know, white woman in town. This is a small little Alabama town, so you already know they're coming for this dude. So I'm not going to spoil it in case you have not read it, but, you know, very much a sign of the times. This is before the civil rights movements. It's Alabama. It's in the South, you know. But one of the things I thought was really, really interesting about this book is that one of the kids, you know, kids are very innocent beings, you know, and he talks about that there are 4 types of people in this world. There's the normal, you know, everyday, upstanding white citizens. There's the really dirt poor, you know, white people, you know, that are respectable, but, you know, just don't have a lot of money. And then there's like the really nasty, poor white people. And then there's black people. And I thought it was very interesting that white people have the privilege to be something different than just their skin color, whereas black people are just black people. So I thought that was a very keen observation that was put inside of this book. I appreciated how much the dad went to bat for Tom. That's the black man that was on trial in this book. And it very much, you know, is representation of the legal system and how I think a lot of the stuff played out. But I do think that the dad did a very good job, and I would like to think that, you know, public defenders these days would put as much effort into trying a case as maybe this dad did. Is that a fruition? Probably not, based off of what I've seen. But I was very impressed in observations that the dad said, in that, you know, it doesn't really matter whether someone's guilty or whether they're innocent, is whether or not this jury determines whether or not they're guilty or innocent. And I very much believe that is the case. I personally would never want to be on trial and put my fate in the hands of a jury of my peers. I thought it was interesting that throughout this book, the kids called their dad by his first name. I guess that was a sign of respect. However, my mom would have tanned my hide if I would go around calling her by her first name. I did that for a day, and she did not take that well. Let's see, what's some other observation in the book? Oh, so I thought it was interesting that the best church in town was built by the money of the first freedmen in this little town in Alabama. And it's a black church that is used by black people on Sundays. However, during the week, it is utilized as a gambling facility by white men. So that is very interesting. Another thing I thought was interesting is frequently throughout the book, the dad Atticus is called an in-lover, and you know, that is definitely a negative term. The child Scout didn't really know what that was. However, her and her brother recognized that it was something negative, to the point that they had very, you know, physical reactions to it and what they did in the book in reference to it. So that was something to note. I also thought that it was interesting that the children, Jim and Scout, didn't have any issues with being around black people. Their maid, housekeeper, cook, whatever in the house, she took them to her church, right? They had no problems being there. But you know, it is the sign of the times, and it just showed me that racism is something that is learned for sure. Because the other adults in town definitely had an issue. And one part of this book I thought was really hilarious, right, was at the beginning of the book, you have Scout, who is in class with this, you know, really poor boy. His family comes into play later in the book, right? And a bug crawls from this little kid's head. And the teacher is absolutely just freaked out, like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, right? And everybody's like, oh, that's just a cootie, don't worry about it. And I'm like, I guess cooties do actually exist out there. And also this boy, like, he goes in on the teacher telling her something really nasty. And instead of her being an adult and, you know, putting him in his place, she starts crying. I definitely did not get that at all. But it was a fun scene. Probably my favorite scene in this entire book. But overall, this was a very interesting book. I can see why people in schools, especially in certain states, definitely challenged it and tried to ban it. But, you know, I know I read it in school. I somewhat enjoyed it, you know, for what it was. The ending, I wasn't super excited about, but, you know, I get it. So, anyway. That's this book, To Kill a Mockingbird. Let me know if this was required reading in your school curriculum, and if it was, what did you think of it? And do you still have any papers that you wrote on this? Missed opportunity to keep some childhood memorabilia. Anyway, y'all, I'm gonna go put my nails on. Go ahead and give me a comment, and if you want to, go ahead and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. See y'all later.